Are you autistic, or do you know someone who is? Have you ever wondered why autistic people seem to focus their attention differently to most people? Maybe they're transfixed on whatever they're doing and they just seem to ignore things. Like they could ignore you, maybe, if you walk into the room and ask them a question. Perhaps they get frustrated and upset when they're interrupted. Maybe you just ask them a question, or if they wanted a drink or something from the shop, And maybe they struggle to return to whatever it was that they were doing before they were interrupted. Maybe they put the dinner in the oven and forgot about it, and now it's all burned and inedible. A concept called monotropism can explain these experiences, and in this video we'll explore the topic of mono and polytropism and talk about how this applies to the autistic lived experience. And in the end, if you're autistic yourself, I'll share with you a few tips from my own experience of how to manage your own monotropic brain. Hello, I'm Mike, and I'm a late diagnosed autistic person. Although my autism was diagnosed later in life at 42, autism is not something that can be caught, nor is it a disease. I was born autistic, and I will always be autistic. When I thought that I might be autistic and I was searching YouTube as part of my research, I noticed much of the content on this platform was kind of focused on children or made for the parents of autistic kids. But on this channel, I'm going to make the content that I wish I had earlier as a younger adult, and I'll use scientific evidence where possible. If that's you and you think this might help you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, as there will be a new video at least once every week. Okay, enough with the housekeeping, let's get on with it. So in 2005, a trio of researchers who themselves are on the autistic spectrum introduced a groundbreaking idea known as monotropism. This theory delves into the unique way in which autistic individuals channel their attention and concentration, and it explains how it sets them apart from those who are non-autistic or allistic, whose attention operates in a polytropic manner. The theory of monotropism suggests that autistic individuals allocate their attention resources differently to allistic or non-autistic people, often focusing intensely on a single interest or task at a time. Now, this does have advantages. Speaking for myself, I've had a successful 20-year career in computer science that I feel couldn't have been done any other way. But in contrast, allistic people tend to distribute their attention across multiple interests or tasks. This is known as polytropic attention. Now, the intense focus that comes with monotropic focus can mean really high levels of productivity and efficiency in tasks that align with our interests. Let's make a little point here to say that we don't get to choose our interests necessarily as autistic people. You might be the sort of person that organises colouring pencils in colour order, and that sort of interest doesn't have such a commercial benefit as, say, computer science does. Now, our worth as autistic people does not align with how productive we are, but it does affect how much we can earn, I suppose, or our employability. And again, there's a bit of social justice element here, which I'll get to later in this channel. But for now, we'll just park that for the moment and just say that I don't think I could have had my career across multiple industries in computer science, and I couldn't have done that without my monotropic focus. Some people would go so far as to call this aspect of the autistic experience a superpower. But I don't agree with that term. It can be a major advantage, in my opinion, but it also comes with a package of downsides too. Now, let me know if autism is a superpower. It needs to be next week's video in the comments section below. However, the downside to this monotropic focus is that it can mean that interruptions are particularly disruptive. Like, one moment you're listening to a beautiful symphony and it's interrupted by a sudden loud noise. Or maybe it's like being in a dark room and then somebody turns the lights on, and it can be jarring and take a while to recover from. Now look, these analogies would upset a neurotypical person too, of course, and that's why I've used them to help explain how it feels as an autistic person to seemingly minor interruptions. More so to an autistic person than a non-autistic person, it can require a significant effort to regain your focus and potentially leads to emotional and mental strain. In this paper, Voiceover Mike is going to take over to explain a couple of concepts. Voiceover Mike, over to you.
Firstly, this paper concludes from a range of other literature that atypical strategies for the allocation of attention are central to the autistic condition. They carefully map evidence to the diagnostic criteria used in the DSM-4 and ICD-10. Touchingly, they include qualitative experiences from autistic individuals, including one of the paper's authors, and note on the implications for diagnostic practice. Please take a look in the description in the comments below for more information on this. It's much easier than reading it all out.
All right. Thanks for that. Interactions. Let's get on with that. Social interactions require distributed attention around so many things. Now, you might think, if you're an holistic person listening to this, that, well, are you talking about social anxiety, depression maybe? Yeah, no, not really. I'm talking about the monotropic focus, the laser focus on one thing after another, the serial processing, the listening to people talking. You've got to listen to their words and understand what they're saying. You've got to make eye contact or not. Again, that's a cultural thing, but here in the West, you make eye contact with people, but not too much. And don't not make eye contact with them. You've also got to focus on their energy level. If you want to respond to somebody talking to you quietly about something with a loud voice, you have to manage that. You also have to but it's one of the things your brain's thinking about is the lights, any smells, any other sounds, any other conversations, and back again to what they were saying. It can appear rude. It's like, are you listening to me, please? I remember getting into trouble at school when teachers thought I wasn't being serious or paying attention to them, when it's the fact I really am paying attention to them, I'm just not looking at them. Hey, monotropic brains tend to have a few highly aroused interests versus many less aroused interests. Those are the technical terms anyway. Now, a polytropic brain, as seen in neurotypicals, can distribute their attention across multiple stimuli or tasks simultaneously and can shift focus from one topic or task to another without significant emotional or cognitive toll. They can be working on their Excel spreadsheet, get a phone call that comes in, answer the phone call, grab the emails, do the emails, go off for lunch, come back, pick up where they left off. It means that polytropic attention can manage multiple conversations and social cues without being overwhelmed. However, a polytropic's depth of engagement is often at a more surface level than those with monotropic attention. And polytropic brains tend to have more varied, but also more shallow interests than monotropic brains. A monotropic brain allocates its attention resources to a very limited range of interests or activities at any given time. And when it's focused, the level of engagement is profound and intense. Shifting attention can be emotionally and cognitively taxing, and interruptions are highly disruptive and may result in a complete loss of focus. This is clearly a disadvantage in social settings, as managing multiple conversations and social cues can be really overwhelming. But when it comes to your interests or hobbies and passions or so-called, special interests, they're often very specific and can be pursued with great intensity, although this can be a problem when you do that to the exclusion of everything else, like relationships, your work, maybe even drinking and going to the bathroom, believe it or not. Now, you can think of a monotropic brain as a narrow, highly focused beam of light compared to, say, a wide, soft floodlight. Someone online once said, I can see the forest for the trees, but I have to see the individual trees first. It explains that unease of navigating new places. A polytropic brain in a busy shopping mall can take in many sights and sounds at once, whereas a monotropic brain has more focus, but it means it takes longer to process the whole scene. In my background in computer science, we would liken this to serial versus parallel processing. Any tech nerds out there, please? Am I right? A monotropic brain is like a fast CPU, which is able to focus and process a few tasks to a really deep level. And a polytropic brain is like a fast GPU, which is many small commands being executed in parallel. Believe it or not, it can actually hurt to be pulled out of your attention tunnel. It's hard it's hard to explain, across the video, but I'll give it a go with some analogies. So let's just say, imagine you're stretching a muscle to its limit. And just when you're about to hit the perfect stretch, someone pushes you, causing you to pull the muscle. That sudden, jarring sensation is similar to the pain of having your attention forcibly diverted. So I've actually strained a tendon in my shoulder, so that's where that example came from. How about this? Picture a figure skater in the middle of a really complex routine. Every move is calculated, every spin is intentional. Now imagine someone suddenly tossing a beach ball onto the ice. So The skater will trip, the flow is broken, and it's not just a matter of picking up where they left off. The entire routine is ruined. Before I was officially diagnosed as being autistic, before I thought of myself as being autistic, before I was officially diagnosed as being autistic, I used to think about this as a metaphor of a house of cards. This is how I explained it to people. And I would say, when I'm working, I'm building a house of cards in my mind. Software developers will understand this, I'm sure of it. And every time there's an interruption, the house of cards gets knocked over. And you need to complete your house of cards to write something down, to write down some code, to do something. And every single time it's knocked down, building it back again is not as simple as just building that house of cards and that's it, just do it again. There's a frustration, there's a sort of tiredness. It's emotionally and mentally draining. It's like starting a marathon and then after the first couple of miles being told, you've got to go back and start over. You start again at a bit of a lower energy level. It's hard to explain. Please, if you relate, let me know in the comments below, so I'm not just like making this up. Psychologist Mihaly, I'm not going to say this word, but there's a surname, popularized this psychological concept called flow states. Now, in a flow state, people are immersed in an activity. And this is not just autistic or holistic, this is just everyone. We can all experience flow states where interruptions will break the state. We can all experience flow states where you enjoy this heightened focus, enjoyment, time just goes out, you just check the time and it's a few hours later than you expect. That is a flow state. Now, interruptions can break that state, causing loss of focus and also emotional and mental strain. Now, researchers from Gloria Mark at the University of California show that it takes an average of 23 minutes and 15 seconds for a neurotypical person to return back to a task after they've been interrupted. Now, for autistic people, who often have limited resources to allocate to tasks, it can take so much longer, or it might not even be possible to return to the task. It's like being on the verge of solving a complex puzzle and having someone scrambling the pieces. Going back to social situations, the big nemesis of a monotropic brain. Now, monotropism explains the extra mental workload. It's a bit like this. Imagine Alex, the autistic, goes to meet his friend Taylor in a coffee shop. They sit in the quiet corner of the coffee shop. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee fills the air. Alex is deeply engaged in a conversation with Taylor about electric vehicles, a topic they're both passionate about. So, the new electric SUV has an impressive range of 400 miles, which is a game changer. Taylor says, wow, that's incredible. It definitely sets a new standard for electric vehicles. Guess one of my special interests. Just as Alex is about to delve into the technical specifications, Chris and Jordan walk in and spot them. And they decide to join the table. Chris, hey Alex, Taylor, mind if we join you? Of course, says Taylor, have a seat. As Chris and Jordan join in, the conversation starts to fragment. Chris is talking about a recent football game, while Jordan's discussing a new movie. The background noise in the coffee shop level also starts to rise. Alex starts to find it difficult to maintain the same level of focus. Their attention feels divided, like trying to watch 4 different TV shows at the same time. The background conversations turn into a distracting buzz, pulling them further away from any single conversation. Feeling mentally and emotionally drained, some autistic people would call that dysregulated, Alex starts to disengage from the conversation. They nod and smile, but struggle to keep up with the multiple threads of conversation. You know that, you know that thing? Sometimes you might laugh at a joke that's potentially inappropriate or at the wrong time or at the wrong thing. Alex thinking, it's like my mental bandwidth is overloaded. Alex says, I can't focus on anything clearly now. As Alex walks home, he reflects on how the shift from a one-on-one conversation to a group setting felt stressful. This isn't social anxiety I'm describing or depression, although these can be co-occurring conditions for some autistic people, but purely as a result of not having enough mental processing capacity to follow multiple conversations. It's even worse for many autistics as they also have the additional burden of having to mask. And very quickly here, masking, not so like a deceptive thing really, and everyone sort of masks in a way. I mean, we all wear clothes, right? We all sort of hide something. But it's like autistic people also have to suppress certain behaviours to make them appear more normal or neurotypical. Get to that in another video. Another analogy for the gamers out there. Imagine you're in the middle of a high-stakes match and your team is counting on you and suddenly you're immersed in the game, you're fully immersed in the game, Now suddenly someone starts talking to you about something unrelated. It's like hitting the pause button, right, as you're about to make a critical move. The flow is broken. It's not just a matter of pausing and unpausing. Your rhythm's off. It might cost you the game. Same applies to people like golfers, right? Or you're playing snooker and somebody just starts talking as you're just about to hit the cue. It can really throw you off. Even if they haven't physically sort of touched you, your brain just immediately gets pulled out of the attention tunnel that you're in, and it hurts. Tips then. 1, prioritize your interests. Now, with a monotropic brain, diving deep into interests is completely natural. However, it's crucial to prioritize what truly matters in the long run, like relationships, for example, not just romantic ones. Like friends too can be so easily forgotten, especially while you're exploring your deep monotropic interests, and maybe you don't reply to a text message, right? Becomes a week later and then you go, oh, maybe I should reply to that now, or it's too late, let's not bother, that sort of thing. Monotropic brains love routines, so try to incorporate a regular time slot where you catch up to date with your friends, and a regular spot in your day for your partner too. Think how they might feel coming second to your new collecting passion, say. Tip 2, set boundaries. Interruptions can be particularly jarring for someone with monotropic focus. Now, setting boundaries helps others understand when you need uninterrupted time. Now, I bought the biggest set of headphones that I could find. And not just because I've got big ears, they send the worldwide sign language for, I'm occupied, please leave me alone. Tip 3, use timers. Timers are great. Admittedly, loud interrupting noises, not brilliant, but some sort of timer can remind you to take breaks, switch tasks, or check that dinner in the oven, right? Tip 4, create a transition ritual. Shifting focus can be really challenging. A short ritual, like even just something as simple as taking some deep breaths or stretching, can help ease the transition from one task to another. That'll be it for now, I think. What tips do you have for managing life with a monotropic brain? Please leave a comment below. In this video, we've explored the concept of monotropism, which is a theory developed by autistic researchers that sheds light on how autistic individuals allocate their attention. We've discussed its advantages, such as intense focus and deep engagement, as well as its challenges, like difficulty in handling interruptions and multitasking. We've also looked at how this plays out in some social situations. Makes it really challenging to manage multiple conversations and cues. What's next? So in upcoming videos, we'll delve deeper into topics like perhaps masking in social settings, maybe even debate around whether autism is a superpower, maybe other practical tips. If there's anything you want me to cover, please leave it in the comments below. If you're interested in understanding the autistic experience from an adult perspective, please stay sure to stay tuned. You know what I mean. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who might benefit from it. This is a brand new channel for me, and your likes and shares help this channel grow. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of my weekly videos. I'll see you next weekend. Bye.